thing that somebody said was like, but cargo planes don't have ejection seats. I said, but the audience doesn't know that. Who knows? You know, this was before the internet, you know, it's like you can't check these things out. How many people know that the cargo plane couldn't have an ejection seat? And then we decided to do it. And this was also before CG, so it was not that easy to do this. We made a chair that was on this kind of a hydraulic arm and shot it against the green screen, and Bruce is sitting in it and the chair is just kind of turning, and then we created the background plate of a miniature plane and the illusion that he's flying and all that, and it just became one of those favorite moments in the movie that people really love, and it's still, you know, of course it's over the top, but it's still realistic in a way that if you bypass the fact that there's no way there would be an ejection seat in a cargo plane, if you bypass that, then you're like, well, that's a clever guy, and so the bad guys are clever and strong, and they've trapped him, and he's going to die. But he's even a little more clever than them, and he's able to get out of this impossible situation. And that's kind of like, I think in movies and action movies especially, your goal has to be that you put your hero in an impossible situation with impossible odds, but he's still able to somehow get out, but get out in a way that is acceptable to you as a smart person, or you know, something that you can't have just, let's say he's in the plane and from the sky a spaceship comes and saves him. That's not acceptable. It has to be in the framework of the rules of the movie. Or he can gain superpowers and lift the plane up and throw it somewhere. So it has to be, you have to play by the rules of the story and the character, but still create situations where you surprise the audience and you give them that moment of like, wow, I would have never thought of that.
Yes. Die Hard 2 for me is one of these movies, has this special spirit. I have seen it several times, I don't know how many times, but this is one of these movies I can watch again and again, and you always sit in the chair and you know what happens, you know?
Yeah.
But you still...
You get tense.
Wow.
And you know what's so important, I think, in that movie is Bruce Willis's character and the humor. And the reality of his character, and I can tell now, it's been so many years, that was the biggest disagreement I had with Bruce, because they had obviously made the first movie and it was very successful, and the whole idea of a franchise wasn't really that big in those days. Making a sequel was more kind of an unusual thing almost, and his concept was that the character has to be very serious and very real. And I said, Bruce, yes, he should be real and relatable, but the whole secret to your character is the humor. That's why people love you, the sarcastic humor. He's like, I don't want to do that. It's cheesy and it's not real. And we had real disagreements about that, and then finally we agreed that we would shoot every scene that had sort of a humoristic bit in it. We would shoot it my way and his way, and then we'll see later on what works better. Of course, when I showed the movie to the studio, every joke, every funny moment is in the movie, and they loved it, and we showed it to an audience and they loved it. And that to me was an important lesson, and I believe that in movies, whether they are thrillers or dramas or serious movies, they still need humor, because life has humor, and it helps when you're watching a movie, even if it's a really sad movie. The humor helps you deal with it and makes the experience more enjoyable.
Yeah. Also, in Cliffhanger, you've been working together with Sylvester Stallone. like to know, Stallone is not just an actor; he's also sometimes working as a director. At this time, when you've done Cliffhanger, well, Hang On, is it the real?
Yeah.
When you have done Hang On, sometimes he wants to talk with you, give you some advice how to do a scene, or.
This was a very interesting situation. That's a good question, because I'm going to be honest, because he knows it and everybody knows it. I didn't want him in the movie. He had done Rocky and Rambo, and he had almost become sort of this caricature of a superhero. You know, Rambo never fails and has 2 machine guns and all that stuff. And I thought he was completely wrong for the movie, because I wanted somebody very realistic and a real, you know, dramatic actor who doesn't come with the weight of any previous things that paint him in a certain way. So I told the producers I don't want him, but the producers really wanted him in the movie, and they said, can you please have lunch with him and just talk and listen to him and whatever. And so I sat down with Sly, and I said to him completely honestly, I said, I can't remember one director who has come out looking good from a movie with you. You've done many successful big movies, but who can name one director? Who can name one director who went on to do another good movie or a big movie and had a long life and career? Nobody. So I don't want to be one of those guys. This is my movie. It's my concept, and I want to make it my way. And I respect you as an actor. I respect you as a director and a writer. But this is my movie. And the reason why I don't want to make it with you is because you always take over and you always tell everybody what to do, and that's your right. Fine, but not when it's my movie. And he looked me in the eye and he said, the reason I want to do this movie is because you're directing it, and I believe in you, and I promise you that I will never question you. I will always do what you want to do. This is your story, your movie, and I want to be an actor in your movie. And we shook hands, and I said, well, then the first thing that we're going to change about the movie is that in the opening sequence, I want this girl that you are rescuing to die. Like, what? Like, yeah, I want you to drop this girl and she dies in the opening scene. That's going to be changed completely if it's you. Because I have to deconstruct you, because you're Rambo, and I don't want Rambo in this movie, because the movie only works if people feel for you. And we have to tell the audience in the first scene that you're human and you can fail. And he's like, well, you're the director. If that's what you want, then that's what we do. And that's how we changed the script. And it became a very well-known scene. And throughout the whole movie, he never questioned me. We had a very honest, straightforward relationship. And I was probably one of the first people who had ever been honest with him. And he could be moving, you know, climbing the wall, and kind of flexing his muscles at the same time. And I'd be like, Clive, what are you doing? I was like, I'm climbing. And I'm like, no, you're posing. Okay. And then he climbs normally. I'm like, don't pose, just be normal.
Okay, great. In Cliffhanger, what was really difficult to shoot? I mean, you on this in the mountains, the opening sequence and everything. What was the most terrible problem? Or
well, it was, we were shooting most of the movie in the Italian Alps at you know, very, very high mountain peaks, and the hardest thing for Sly and the crew was just the altitude, to work in that altitude where the air is so thin. I had been there for a long time. I had really prepared myself for it, so it wasn't so bad for me. But for a lot of people, it was really hard to work in those conditions. It was very cold, a lot of snow. We were so high up in the mountains that the weather could change in minutes. It could go from sunshine to being inside a cloud and a snowstorm. But I like that kind of challenges, and I love it. And every sequence was hard and dangerous and difficult. Everybody had to every day wear safety harnesses and safety ropes, because one wrong step and you fall kilometers down. So it was just in every way a very challenging movie. And the opening scene, I wanted to do it for real. So it's a real wire between real mountain peaks with real people on the wire. And but I love the challenge. I love that kind of movies.
Yeah, and you see, Hang On, it's also a movie I can watch again and again, because this spirit, you know, it's not in a green box. It's the real places. Very cool. Another movie from you I really like is Deep Blue Sea. I really like animal horror movies, especially with sharks.
Yeah.
And for me, Deep Blue Sea is still one of the best shark movies ever.
In the most advanced research facility in the world. Wow.
Beneath its glassy surface, a world of gliding monsters.
A team of specialists is working against the clock.
Did someone order the fish?
On an experiment to benefit mankind.
Sharks never show any loss of brain activity as they age.
We're this close to the reactivation of a human brain cell.
But before they can save millions of lives...
Tell me I didn't see that. They recognize that gun.
It's impossible. Sharks do not swim backwards. They can't.
They'll have to find a way to save their own.
Just what the hell did you do to those sharks?
Did you feel something?
Jim and I use gene therapies to increase their brain mass.
What is that?
As a side effect, the sharks got smarter.
Somebody, please, tell me what that is. Go! Go!
At the moment, you have finished Hercules. What can we expect?
You can expect a lot. I'm actually really, really excited. Of course, every time I make a movie, I hope it's going to be really good, and I work very hard to make it as good as possible. But with Hercules, it's something that when I got involved in it and started doing the research and studying Greek mythology and really understanding who Hercules was, instead of this sort of a caricature that people think of, you know, this guy who is really strong, but really humanizing him, I became just completely fascinated by this character and these stories, and realized that really all these today's superheroes, they really come from that mythology. And Hercules, his father was Zeus, the god of thunder, and his mother was a mortal, and he lived a really tortured life actually, and I wanted to make an origin story where we show where he comes from, who he is.
Meine Gedanken schwarz wie im dunklen Wald. Ich lieb, wenn einem die Hand abgeschnitten, abbissen, abgerissen, Hektoliter Blut. Dann ist der Film auch wirklich gut. Ein Preis, ein Witz und die Idee schon ist es. Eine bessere Drogen als Schnee. Wenn du nicht weißt, wer ist es gsi, hat der Film genug Drill dabei. Wart ich nur auf den Schnitt mit dem offenen Mund durchs Gesicht. Die Geschichte nimmt kein Handy, weil es privilegierte Wattli haben es kapiert. Wenn du guten Film willst, musst du zum Heiko im Psycho-Shop. Dort öffnen